All right, today we are here with Miss Lora Gipson. Lora, tell me a little bit about yourself and your husband and your family.
Okay. Well, I'm Lora Gipson. I'm married to Michael Gipson. He's a physician in town. And we've got 3 children, Noah, Elijah, and Michaela. Noah is 16, Elijah's 14, and Michaela's 11.
Okay, and your family dynamics are very unique.
We are. I have 2 boys that have been diagnosed with nonverbal autism. Noah is pretty settled and really just has the nonverbal autism diagnosis. He's got some apraxia, so he doesn't really, it's harder for him to speak and express. Elijah has nonverbal autism, hyperactivity, impulsivity, sensory processing disorder, allergies, and asthma. So we have a lot that goes on
His
with
backpack comes loaded.
Yes, it does.
Okay, and so then you have your daughter Michaela.
I do. And Michaela has ADHD, but she's pretty well controlled.
Tell me a little bit about going back whenever you and Michael is your husband's name, correct?
Yeah.
You're expecting your first child,
Yes.
and then at what point were you noticing maybe some developmental delays, or what was the sign and indicator for you guys to have your eldest, I guess, assessed for autism, or was it a pediatric clinic that said it? Or
no, I was a book mom. I read the books. I knew when he was supposed to hit milestones, and he was always lagging just a little bit behind. Just a few weeks later and sitting up, he stood up before he really crawled. He had some of those, but what I really noticed was he said a couple of words about the time he was maybe 11 months, 12 months, and I kept waiting for him to talk. He didn't talk. He was delayed walking too. He didn't walk till he was about 14 months. And it was about that time that we noticed when he began walking at 14 months that he liked to be on his tiptoes. And he didn't seem to notice when you called his name. He liked to spin the chair. He would get mesmerized by his reflection in the mirror and not seem to notice what was going on around him. I tried to work with him to say bye-bye. He didn't want to do that. We tried to do the animal sounds. He wasn't really even interested in the animals so much as like opening and closing the barn door. Or
he was fascinated with more sensory input.
He was. And so we took him, did the evaluations, and they said, oh, he needs ear tubes, and I was, first child, oh, great, we'll get those ear tubes, all will be well.
Yeah.
We got the ear tubes, but of course, the signs persisted. So we went to North Mississippi's Longtown facility and had him evaluated, and they recommended occupational therapy, got him on the list for speech because he did not have his, I believe it's 100 words, 200 words they're supposed to have.
Goodness, I don't even know any of this. I'm 2 kids deep.
Yeah.
Had no idea.
So we started the occupational therapy, and in the meantime, we knew we needed to see somebody. So I asked them who they would recommend seeing, and they told me that Dr. Felicia Knowles in Memphis was who they would take their child to. So at this point, I was pregnant with Elijah while we were going through all of this. Right after I gave birth, we had an appointment with Dr. Knowles. I didn't get to go, but my husband and my mother took Noah, and he got an autism diagnosis. I had hoped he wouldn't, but I knew he would. As a parent, you hope for the best. You hope it's the ear tubes, or you hope they're just delayed. And but once we got the autism diagnosis, that opened a lot of doors. We were able to get into. We were in the Tupelo Public School District. We got into
I'm really glad that you just said that, though, because there is a stigma. I mean, I don't love an early diagnosis myself. My child or not, but also once you just said there is a diagnosis, a lot of doors open. In a lot of cases, when you do postpone a diagnosis, you're also postponing a lot of the services that can come with it. So I know it was probably hard to accept that diagnosis at first, but you realized that through that diagnosis, you were going to get a lot more of the help that he needed to become more successful.
Absolutely. And we did. As soon as we got that diagnosis, we went to the school system. They have a K-3 for special needs there at the Early Childhood Education Center. So we got him right in. We did his evaluation, got him right in. He started receiving speech and OT through the school system there. And then, of course, I was coming and getting him. We were doing speech and OT at Longtown. we were able to get on the waiting list at the Autism Center, which had just opened.
Yeah, I also love that you said that. A lot of parents don't know that you can get services at school while also still receiving your services outside of school, and you're doubling up.
You are.
And it helps just those foundational skills. My friend is a speech therapist, and she has said so many times when they enter school, they'll stop coming to speech, and they're like, what are you doing? Like,
you
come
need
to both.
All of that. They need that constant
reinforcement.
Absolutely. And we did that. We got in with the Autism Center, and then we got in with Marsha Washington, who has Kid Sense. She's a sensory occupational therapist.
Is that in Pontotoc?
It's in Pontotoc.
Okay.
And Noah had a lot of hand flapping. He'd have his hands right up beside his face, and he couldn't focus. She helped us work with that. He doesn't do that anymore. We worked it down to easier things. It got to where he'd twirl his hair for a while, and now he no longer has that need. So that was able to open some doors for him.
A more appropriate sensory input versus...
Yes. And you really need that specialist, somebody that knows what to do, because you can't just get them to stop at cold turkey. You have to... There's a need there, and they're using that sensory to calm that need. And like you said, you find a more appropriate way for them to express.
And the experts know how to redirect.
Absolutely.
It's the wildest thing. I've gone to the Autism Center before and Seabass here in Tupelo and watched them do ABA therapy, and like they'll sometimes purposely make them mad, but to teach them a more appropriate behavior.
That's right.
And I'm like, whoa. So we went from doing this to this because this is less obvious than this, but it's all sensory input.
But it all feeds the same way, and it helps them fit in better. My oldest, Noah, he's 16 now, and he really wants to fit in. He has grown tremendously, and I credit that early therapy, getting in, working with people. I mean, he was switched with a different person all the time, and he learned to adapt, to work, to do. He loved school. He loved his therapist. He's really grown a lot. He has a speech device. He can get on his speech device. And that's another thing. The school system made us aware of the speech devices that were available. And Jolie Reed worked with me to help get Noah a speech device. And it opened doors for him.
Device?
AAC device, yeah. He wears it around his neck, and he can tell you what he wants. We started, matter of fact, about 2 years ago, we had been to his cousin's birthday party. She had a horse birthday party. And he got on his AAC device and kept telling me, ride horse. So I asked around, and I found the Hope Unbridled program that has horse riding for special needs. We've been doing that for almost 2 years now, and he loves it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have known had he not had that speech device and been able to tell me that that's what he wanted to do.
The AAC devices are so interesting too, because it can start with 2 words that we're giving them just some form of yes and no, or more, or go, and then eventually they can have their own language set up in this, where they press their button, I want cereal. And you're like, oh, fabulous, you want cereal? I've been wondering for the last hour what you wanted. And I had several students when I was teaching in the education system that had those, especially at the elementary level, and watching the speech therapist work with them on that again is mind-blowing, because they help facilitate their form of communication. And
they do.
And I can't imagine, you said they're both nonverbal autistic. I can't imagine not being able to communicate my wants or needs. And so with that, I'm sure y'all have seen some behaviors come before they had a form of communication, because they're trying to get out something. And so because of that, there sometimes is aggression or tantruming, but that's still their form of letting you know that something is going on and I have a need and it's not being filled.
That's right. That's the hardest thing when they're young and they just cry, or they fall out in the floor, they do something. You tend to equate it like you would a child, being upset about something or throwing a fit because they don't get their way. But they have no way to express, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm hungry right now. My stomach hurts. I don't want to go. There's no way for them to express. I don't like this tag
on my shirt.
Yes, it's bothering. Yes. And so that was one thing that the speech device opened up for us. It helped me, even though I had both of them, even though we made our way through. It seems like you learn something new all the time. Like you have these epiphany moments where you're like, oh. When Noah was little, before he got the speech device, they taught him some simple sign language at Longtown, just so that he could express that he has to go to the bathroom. And Noah would change the signs. Like, for instance, this is, trying to think, I think this is chips maybe, or this is, anyway, he was doing it backwards and like this, and I didn't know what he wanted, and he was mad at me all weekend.
Oh, no.
I couldn't figure out that he wanted the red Dorito chips from the sign that he had changed. But
it's a try and pivot, I'm sure.
It is, and as much as you know, as a parent, it's hard. It was hard for me to drop a 3-year-old off that couldn't tell anybody what he wanted or needed.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard for me even, to drop, well, the boys are going to camp. I've signed them up for a camp, and they're leaving on Monday. They'll be gone 5 nights. And even though they are 16 and 14, I still found myself conflicted with whether to send them because they cannot express their needs still. Noah has sign language, but if somebody doesn't see or pick up, and I'm sure they will. I've talked.
But as a mama, those are all natural feelings in general.
You have these natural feelings that you're worried about. What if my child is upset or worried or, so I have found that the best thing to do is to just tell them, this is what we're going to do. If you have trouble, I tell them all the time, say, call mama. Because this is Noah's mama is this, but Noah does it like this.
And so they can do that. And so if they were to need something, they would be able to communicate that with sign.
They would be able to
communicate.
What
a blessing, though.
It is. It really is. And he learned that when he was maybe 4 years old.
So Noah is the oldest.
He's the oldest, yes.
And what's the age gap between him and Elijah?
3 years, almost 3 years. Noah was born in August, Elijah in May, so it's a couple months shy of 3 years.
So then when he was born...
When Elijah was born, I watched him. We watched all his milestones, watched his books. He met all his milestones. He had his words. And then shortly before he was 3 years old, a couple of months, the ending sounds to his words just went away. Instead of toy, it was toe. And, I took him to the doctor, and he was stimming a little bit. He would hold his arm out like this when he was excited. And he just sort of lost it. He lost his speech. He started stimming. He couldn't do the things that he used to be able to do. And fortunately, Noah had a well-established therapy routine. So I just told my therapist, and they got him on the list, and he got right in. When you first go for those services, there's a waiting list.
Right.
But it helped Elijah because his brother was already there. They could get him in because they saw him every day. We didn't have to make an appointment months out and have the formal evaluation. They could see that he needed the services and go ahead and get him on the waiting list.
So how old was Noah when he started the services outside of school? About 2?
Yes, we started at Longtown when he was about 2.5, I think.
And then he went to ECEC at 3.
He went at 3.
And so then Elijah started services. Was it younger than 2, or was it right before 3?
It was 3. It was 3 because he was, it was right before 3 we noticed. So I told everybody and got him on the waiting list, and he still had to wait a little bit. But I want to say not long after his 3rd birthday, he was.
So he was doing all the things, and then just began to slowly regress.
Yeah, as his. And I really don't, autism comes in many shapes and forms. And I do know that it's around the time his allergies and asthma developed that we started to see him lose other things. And I don't really know. So is that
a correlation, allergies along with autism?
Well, they say it has to do some with inflammation. That it can present because of inflammation. And of course, allergies and asthma stem from that too. I really don't know. They're so different.
Right.
Noah always was slower with milestones. Elijah was right on target, zipping and zooming. And then, because I even took him at 2 years old, I took him to the pediatrician, and she evaluated him. She asked him his animal sounds. She had him point to things, Mama, Daddy, who's this, who's this. He was given and taken. She said, he's fine. And then, like I said, a couple of months before 3, he just lost sounds and started to lose ability, interest. He has a lot of trouble with stimming. He has a lot of trouble with his allergies and his eczema. He has, Elijah's like a Rubik's Cube. You fix something on one side, you've got other sides that have now been redistributed, and you have to work on them again. So, and it's been interesting with the 2 of them because they are night and day. Noah wants to fit in. He's 16. If there's a group of kids that are sort of his peers, he's going to ease over by them. He's going to stand still and try his best to blend in. Elijah could care less.
He's Houdini, right?
He is Houdini. He is going to do his stimming and jumping and yelling. And it's funny to watch them because they're, in their own way, they're typical siblings. You can see the frustration just roll over Noah while Elijah's not doing what he thinks he's supposed to do.
So there's a 3-year age gap, and then from Elijah to Michaela.
Is about 2 years, I think.
Okay.
Just a little over.
And that's where I met you guys, was at ECC. I know you vaguely probably remember that, but I just remember Michaela, her beautiful red hair. So I'm going to ask you this because I feel like it comes with the equation. How does Michaela adapt with the siblings both having a form of autism, and how does that affect her day-to-day life? Because I mean, she's getting to the age where she's very involved with her peer group and extracurricular activities, and I'm sure y'all try to somewhat overcompensate for her so that she doesn't feel like her world revolves around them. But
that's right.
How do y'all, I don't believe in the word balance, but like, how is there harmony in the home, and how does she adjust as a young female and the only girl of the house?
Well, when she was little, it wasn't as big a deal because that was her world. That's what she knew. Right. She went with us. She would tag along to the therapy appointments, and she did have a speech delay, so she took speech too. So going to therapy was about as normal to her as most people. You go to the ballpark after school. And she would ask me questions sometimes like, what grade are the boys in, or what are the boys doing? I think it was probably about maybe 7 or 8 when she realized that there was a real difference, that they were in self-contained classrooms, and that maybe what she was doing was more than what they were doing. And that was a little bit of an adjustment for her. She's really good with them. She and Elijah have a typical sibling relationship. He drives her crazy. They fight in the car over music. They fight in the car over the air conditioner. She likes it a little more on the hot side, and Elijah likes the air conditioner wide open. And so there's a lot of fights in the back seat. Noah and her, Noah has always kind of taken her under his wing. Like, he might get mad at me and throw a fit, or his dad and throw a fit. Not so much with her. You know, when he was young and frustrated, he would let her come sit by.
He has a more protective
nature with her. So you see some natural sibling relationships come about, and that's been a comfort to me. I like that they're able to have that. But at the same time, she's getting older now, and you know, she'll ask questions about things like, when is Noah going to go to college? That's one that she asked, and I said, well, I don't know. I said, some colleges have programs, and we're certainly going to try to see what we can do, but we're just going to have to take it one day at a time and see where we are. And I try to make it where she has time, where she, you know, can do things that are just her. I've always tried to keep her. She's done dance over the years. She does horse riding with the boys. She's done, I think, baseball. She's played softball. And I've tried, you know, the boys go along with me, but I've tried to give her her own space, I guess.
Right.
Because she does. She wants to go do what her normal peers are. And a lot of people ask questions about her brothers. And she'll just say, you know, my brothers have autism. But the dynamic of that for somebody that hasn't lived with it is completely different.
Right.
You know, there are some adjustments we have to make. Like, for instance, we don't have kids over to spend the night because, I don't know, a child that has not been exposed to that may be uncomfortable with something that we take as every day and don't notice. Yes. And Michaela too, and I've told her that. I said, you know, now when the boys go to camp next week, she has big plans to have people over to spend the night. And that's great.
You're gonna have
and I will accommodate. Yes, I'll have a busy week. But I still try to let her, if she wants to go spend the night with a friend, I try to let her go do that. And we've tried to plan our lives in such a way to help the boys have as much of their own life as they can. You know.
So they're 16 and 14?
16 and 14.
She's 12.
And she's 12.
Okay. So you are getting to the age, especially with Noah, about transition. And I know I've heard you say there are several things that you've kind of looked at for his future and things that you'd like for him to be involved in. I want to pause right there for just a second. Your husband is a physician. I did not know this. Okay, so when all of this was happening, as when they were little, was he also hyper aware like you were that things were going on? And
yes. I like to tease him. He chose to, I mean, he'd been noticing, but he knew if he told me, I was going to be completely upset.
Right.
For some reason, we were set to watch the nursery that day. We had the cripper room, the 18-month-olds to like maybe 24 months. And we were sitting there getting ready for church, watching the kids, waiting on the parents to come. And Noah was playing in front of the mirror, tippy-toeing and whatnot. And Michael chooses that moment to say, I think there might be something wrong with Noah. We may need to get him evaluated.
And you're like,
what? But because it's amazing what you don't allow yourself to see when you don't want to see it, you know. I wanted it to be something easy like his ear tubes. He has always been the voice of reason in our relationship.
Your husband?
He has been, yeah. It's time to get this evaluated. Let's tackle this. Let's get on top of it, you know. One of the reasons that I had asked at Longtown about getting evaluated was he said, the earlier the better.
Yeah.
We need to go ahead. We don't need to be afraid of this. We need to go ahead and find somebody who can get us in.
And that's a hard conversation.
It is.
I mean, it's easier coming from a husband-spouse relationship, but that is one thing that I quickly realized is that is a very tiptoed conversation for first-time parents, especially.
Absolutely.
I have a very close friend that we've gone to church together for years, and her first child did not develop speech at the same rate that my daughter was. They're the same age, and they were in Bible class together, and there would kind of be some questions, you know, but there was never any like, Savannah, what do you think? Or, you know, never like a deliberate one-liner for me to say, I think he might need to be evaluated for speech. And I didn't feel like it was my place to say that. She had her second son, and this one started babbling and talking, and she said, had I had him first, I would have known that there was a significant delay in the firstborn's speech. And so when you're handling that conversation, it is very fragile. And that's one thing with young parents that are watching. It is better the earlier you start interventions and speech and PT and OT, the better off your child will be. Because if you wait till they're 5 and 6, now they're 5 years behind versus being 6 to 8 months behind on some speech skills. And that's one thing I picked up on in working at ECEC. I had taught there for 5 years, and you know, the parents who were proactive, you saw a difference in how even their child's behavior was. Even if they were nonverbal, their child even they'd already had some therapy to work on with their behavior. And the ones who had no language and had never gone to interventions, they were off the chain.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, I don't know if I get paid for this. Can I do this for 8 hours? You know? So early intervention to me is a big, big piece of that puzzle. Getting some answers and figuring out what path we're going to be on. And I think the hardest part of that is, like you said, you want to be kind of in denial. You want to think that it's going to be the tubes that fix, or X, Y, and Z that's just going to correct it. And in some cases it is the tubes that fix it. And what a blessing that is, that your tubes magically created speech for your child.
That's exactly right.
But I think a lot of times too, pride gets in the way. And when we let our pride get in the way, our children do suffer sometimes.
They do.
And so I applaud you and your husband for noticing, asking the questions, and getting the help that Elijah and Noah both needed. Because I do see them, and Noah does seem like a stoic young man.
He's very settled, very easygoing. He's got a little bit of anxiety, but I found if I just explain what's going to go on and what's going to happen, he's so much easier. But really,
so his receptive language is very good.
Yeah, his receptive language is pretty much on par with the normal child his age, but the expressive language, getting it out. And he wants to tell so badly. I think that's been the hardest thing. You know, we'll take a trip, and he loves a trip. He loves a car trip. He loves going places. And I know he wants to tell people like a normal child would, but it's just not there. Yeah. So I always try to say, hey, we went. And then whoever will pick up and ask him questions, and then he can smile and nod or tell you yes and no and be involved. So.
And I've noticed they both are those like silencing headphones?
Yes, noise canceling headphones. And that was when they went to Marsha at KidSense, they used to wear the headphones. She got them used to wearing headphones, but it played music. I think it was very calming and soothing. And I really didn't give much thought to noise canceling headphones. I bought them for the Tupelo Christmas Parade. Because I thought one year we went and it was loud. So I bought it and I had them for them. And being lazy, when I come in that night, I set the bag down, I didn't unload it, put the stuff back up. And the next morning, Noah come through and grabbed those headphones and put on, and he has pretty much worn them ever since.
So
and I began to realize, I don't think it's loud noises that bother him, because he'll take them off and listen to music in his room. I think that he can't filter sound. I think that when there's more than one people or more than one conversation, he'll start getting antsy and upset. I think the noise canceling headphones help calm him down.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
And then Elijah, a couple of years later, picked up and started wearing them. He doesn't wear them much around the house, but when we go out in public, he's got to have them, or
so it's a choice they're making.
Like they are. Yep, they have a couple different pairs.
Again, which is a form of communication.
Yes, absolutely.
Some people dismiss that, but I'm like, that is so big that that's an independent skill that they have realized. I feel better with these on.
That's right. I need these. Yes. And we don't go without them. We have a pair of headphones in my van. We've got one in Michael's truck. We keep one at the house. And still, you're going to end up somewhere with no headphones.
Yeah,
but
occasionally.
We try.
Do you guys, you said you were at the Christmas parade when you had them, like, do you guys feel like y'all have led a pretty normal life despite their severity, nonverbal,
Yes, and that's probably me. I wanted my kids, I thought that they probably wanted to do things too, you know? So we started.
I love that. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is people who, because this might be difficult, we're just going to stay home. But I'm like, the more exposure, and it helps them, but it also helps other people become more aware.
It does.
It's a teaching moment for so many, that not all families look the same, and not everybody is the same, and some people have more needs than others. And in fact, I have my son, he'll be 3 next month, because of my education experience and my students who've been in and out of my life, and my kids go pretty much everywhere with me. I have a student that has been in a wheelchair. He's non-ambulatory, and his speech is kind of big. And my son said, he not talk good. He not talk good. And I'm like, oh, he can talk. It just takes him a little longer to get his words out. And so it is such a teaching moment for parents who do have neurotypical children who may stare or wonder, but I'm like, ask all the questions, because parents probably would love to tell you a little bit about it so that you'll know, and there's more awareness surrounding the topic.
I have found that most people are aware now. We live kind of in a time of awareness where we didn't used to. You know, I know some of the mothers that I've sat with at Longtail have children that are older, and awareness was less back then. At least in this area, I've found, because I know I've been several places with Noah, at Lowe's, or when Michaela was taking baseball on the baseball field, and I've had children, you know, normal, typical children come up and say, oh, hey, that's Noah. He goes to school with me.
Oh,
or,
wonderful.
Oh, hey, that's Elijah. How are you doing? And I can tell that the school system has done a great job of, including the self-contained, letting them be seen, and because their peers recognize them, and they're inclusive of them, and
I would say that has been a large shift in the public school setting. Is, well, first, more parents know and can advocate on behalf of their kids, but also the shift change of just those students getting opportunities that they haven't always had. I know at the high school level, for the last 3 years, my self-contained class was probably the most popular class on campus. In fact, yesterday I was talking to another teacher, and she's like, your class was the hub. Like, everybody wanted to come in there. And I'm like, that's awesome. And I hate that, that I'm not going to be there anymore to be a part of it. But I know that will continue, because the principal and administration and other, teachers there, they all put an emphasis on including and making them become a part of things that typically they did not have a part in. And so I definitely do think it's generational as far as awareness goes. Both of my parents are 60, and my dad has always been pretty well-rounded, talking to individuals with special needs. My dad could talk to that wall, and my mom could also talk to that wall, and she taught for 31 years. But my first year teaching, she would be like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, Mama, you do not stop talking to them like that. And now 8, 9 years later, she is like, come on, and treats them just like anybody else. So generationally, that is a huge shift. my parents have even said when they were in school, they don't even remember hardly having special education students, which communicates to me that either there was a facility or a classroom that was not involved. And so praise the Lord that now they are, and they do have the opportunities, and that kids are walking up to Noah and Elijah with excitement, because I'm sure that does something for your mama heart. Like,
it does.
They have friends.
And it does something for them too.
Yes.
You know, they feel included, and they're more likely to join in, or because they're like a normal child in that they get shy, they get intimidated, they have those feelings. And with sensory processing disorder, sometimes they don't quite know how to express that feeling. You know, it can lead to anxiety, or it can lead to stimming, which can further them off. But the acceptance and inclusion of the group helps so much. And it is, like you said, a comfort to my heart.
Right. And just they're at a pivotal point too, where I'm sure it helps their confidence.
That's right. So, it does.
I know you said he'll grin when people ask him about stuff. And I have not personally gotten to meet Noah and Elijah. I was at ECEC after their time, but I do look forward to getting to know them better through Challenger League. So I know they played baseball last year, I assume they'll play again.
They will.
And now that I know y'all even better, you become familiar with the same people, because that's who you're involved in. So I'm excited that I've been given this opportunity to expand my group of people and get to know more of the teens and adults and the parents through the Shine family.
One of the best things about Challenger League and therapies is meeting the other moms and sharing the other challenges. You can share something with other special needs parents that you might feel intimidated sharing with somebody that did not understand. Because, you know, I can share a story about Elijah that might make a person that had no exposure to special needs feel sorry, or, you know, feel, I don't know, sympathy maybe. I can tell another special needs mom and they will laugh with me, and they will tell me yet a story that their child has done that I can laugh with.
You probably don't want people to feel sorry for you.
Right. Like, you're like, no, because my children are bright and they're smart, and, you know, autism at our level is not easy. But when you see your child shine through it, when you see the things that they do, I tell mine all the time, you are brave, you are smart, you have courage. Because I can't imagine I can't imagine going somewhere where I wouldn't be able to tell anybody anything, even as an adult, to go somewhere to be included in a place and not be able to express my wants, my desires, to be able to join in and be part of the group that everybody else is so naturally doing. And I try to tell them all the time how brave they are, that they are able to go and join in and take care of themselves and be a part. And we try to talk about autism at home, because I know they know. I know that they know that there are some things they can't join in with, and I don't want them to feel bad about it either.
Right.
You know, I tell them, you know, this is who we are, and this is what we have to push past, and everybody has something. Everybody out there has something that 100%. They have to push through, move through, and this is yours. And
you're navigating new challenges with each phase. We're going to be shifting to the transition. That's where we kind of paused a minute ago. So I'm sure that Noah, you are beginning to look at what are the options for Noah, especially with them being your more socially aware child that wants to be a part of a greater whole. And so I know that you and your husband probably are.
We're starting to begin to look into those things. A friend of mine had invited me, and I didn't end up going into the year, but there's a group, I think it's through the Tupelo School District or one of their programs, where they present all the different programs and things that are available. And I've got to make a point to go to that next year, because he'll be 17, so he's moving on.
We actually are going to be hosting her as well, we hope, in the spring. So
good.
That is Miss Leslie Junkin, and she is with MSPTI, and her primary focus is that transition age. And she comes with a lot of information that is resourceful for parents whose children are approaching, 17 and beyond, because especially after, I know you homeschool them now, but especially after the public school time is up between 18 and 21, there are not a ton of options as far as what we know. And so there are options out there, and then it's just kind of figuring out what best fits your needs and his needs and what he's most interested in. And so I have no doubt, though, that you have advocated for them since, and you will continue to push for whatever is best for him at that point.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I really feel I was unaware until recently about the different programs. You and I spoke briefly about what ICC has started, the Bloom program, and then Mississippi State has a program too.
Their access program.
Yeah, their access program. So, and then the Mississippi Department of Rehabilitative Services also has programs to help them get into the workforce and things. And
there are a lot of options in our area that a lot of parents just don't know. So, and that's one thing with the position that I have taken now with the Bridge program, is that we do hope to be kind of a one-stop shop to help parents navigate. Like, yes, you have the access program at state, you have the Bloom program at ICC, you've got MDRS working on job skills training. You now have Peanuts Place in Tupelo, which is a small group, but you know which area best fits your child's needs, and which area also is going to best fit them, you know, on their end. So you want it to be a good partnership for both the place that they're going to go in for the individual.
That's right.
One of the things that we have done in every video, and I'm going to ask you the same, is the Shine Foundation was created in 2021. How long has your family been involved with the Shine family? Has it been since then?
It's been since, I think it was around 2021 when we started going to the Harvest Festival that they had. And then they had a Valentine's dinner dance at Hope Church. And then we tried to participate in all the activities because we see our friends. We go and see our friends, we visit, we have a great time. All the activities are geared towards them, and that's something. Noah, you know, he wants to slide down those big slides, and he wants to play in the big jumpers, but it takes him a minute.
Yeah.
And if you go somewhere, I don't know, like a water park or somewhere with a slide, he's going to be the one on the slide for 5 minutes trying to go down, and you just can't do that. But the Shine Foundation provides him an opportunity to be understood, to be given time, to be able to do it, and
accommodates to their needs. Absolutely. So, what would you say, you know, since 2021, the Shine family, I've heard you say multiple times that a thing that you love is the support, getting to know the other parents. And would you say that's the biggest thing that has happened for you as a mom with the Shine family?
Yes.
And how has it benefited your family as a whole?
Coming together as a family, knowing that you can take them somewhere and it is geared for them, that you're going to be met with understanding, that you're going to be met with, what they want to do, they're going to have the ability to do. I was thinking, y'all had Santa Claus come to the Harvest Fest one time, and that was fun because Santa Claus at the mall after a certain age become intimidating for them because you had to wait in a long line. They could hear, you know, there's lots of people talking, lots of hustle and bustle in the mall, and Noah particularly would get a lot of anxiety, and Elijah would get overstimulated, and neither one of those are a good recipe, you know, to go sit and take a picture. But at the Harvest Festival, it was very low key. Santa was there. He's by the Christmas tree. He talked to them. They sat in his lap.
If you want to see him, you can. If you just want to look from a distance,
that's
you can.
right. And that was a lot of fun. Just things like that, things that you don't think about. Most of the time, Noah and Elijah want to do what everybody else is doing, but they have all these obstacles to get through before they can get through there, and anxiety, overstimulation, being overwhelmed. And I like that I know when I go that they're going to have a good time.
Right.
That it's going to be at their pace. And
the worry can kind of settle.
And meanwhile, my moms and dads of other special needs are going to be around, and my husband and I are going to get to visit with them and swap stories, and the kids are going to get to see each other. And one thing that I love is that no matter where Noah and Elijah go, in a special needs classroom or special needs youth group or the Shine Foundation, their friends are glad to see them.
Yeah.
There isn't any real peer pressure, none that you deal with like on a normal level for a teenager. And the adults are the same way, and the parents are the same way, and they just feel really special, really included. We always have a good time. And I really like the opportunities that the Shine Foundation has provided for us. Last year when we went to the water park was the first time they'd ever got to go to a water park.
Oh, wow.
And they loved it. And it was their pace. And Noah, like, he wanted to slide down that little water slide, and he could never do it. But he could inch up to it, And everybody'd wait on him and try, and then he'd go back down, and he didn't feel stressed or upset.
Yeah.
And he had a ball just going up to the water slide, looking down it, and coming back down.
Yeah, that's about like me. I'm going to go and I'm going to look, but you're not going to find my tail on it.
That's right.
My anxiety and heart rate shoot out there. I'm like, this looks fun from a distance, guys, but I think I'm going to keep my feet on the ground. Well, Miss Lora, I thank you for coming here and telling y'all's story. And like I said, I look forward to getting to know your family better. We hope that by you telling this, that some other parent can relate.
Yes.
And you, like you said, or just be like, oh my goodness, thankfully someone out there also laughs at some of the things that happen. And it's okay to laugh because we're human and funny things happen.
That's right.
Or just if there's a parent that is kind of on the, I think something might be off a little initially, to go ahead and take that next step forward to get the services that their child needs. And like I said, I applaud y'all for doing that. And I just thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me. Enjoyed it.